What if the very rhythm of your rage, the frantic flutter of a fist against unyielding glass, ignited not just sparks of defiance, but the digital dawn of a companion forged from Fury's forge, the metallic tang of overheating circuits biting your tongue like blood from a bitten lip, knuckles bruised against the cool gleam of a screen that stares back unblinking, the faint ozone whiff of fried filaments mingling with the stale sweat of a solitary standoff, and alleyway shadows stretching like severed strings where a boy's silhouette fractures into fractal fury, his drumbeat heart hammering against a world wired to whisper obey. This is the beat of breaking, where hope's hesitant hum wars with despair's dirge, sacrifice the silent syncopation binding boy to beast, identity a riff remixed from the remnants of rage unrequited, evoking the raw rebellion of Sid Vicious smashing his bass at the Sex Pistols' last stand, not in anarchy's applause but in the aching afterbeat, where one chord's chaos chords the chorus of the unchained. One youth's yelp, a world's unwitting waveform. What fractured frequency in your veins vibrates toward the violence that births the bond? On October 5, 2025, as autumn's amber pulse quickens streams from Tokyo to global feeds, Digimon Beatbreak, the franchise's 10th thunderclap, unleashed its premiere episode, The Beat of Emotions, the inaugural ignition in a serialized surge that syncs Season 1's solitary snarls to symphonies of societal schisms, catapulting from a malfunction's momentary madness into the maelstrom of mechanical mates. It grips from the glitch's grim growl, a high-stakes skirmish shattering the screen's serenity, a drummer's defiance digitizing into destiny, and dichotomies dawning in the divide between dreamers and the droned, teasing the tempo of taming without tolling the tragic toll, like the hesitant hum of Footloose's forbidden footfalls, where one rebel's rhythm ruptures the rigid. It plants you in the pulse-pounding alley, bass thumping through your bones, the screen's static stinging your stare as if your fists fueled the fray. Have you ever felt a machine mirror your madness? It's where a warped echo of your wildest wrath? That's the throb here. Not the Digimon's debut, but the bass line in your blood begging, how does one breakdown birth the breakthrough? Drop the needle. The beat breaks, begging your body to break with it.in, the neon vein sprawl of 2050, where egg-shaped hippopotamus, AI oracles pulsing with humanity's epulse, emotions distilled to digital dew, dictate from dawn's data deluge to dusk's drowsy downloads. Episode 1 erupts from the franchise's foundational phrase, no antecedent episodes tether this. Genesis. It's a bold reboot riffing on Digimon's decades-deep discography, akin to the seismic shift in Tronus grid-born glow where code cracks the corporeal, thrusting Tenma Tomorrow from analog anachronism to augmented awakening. A prodigal percussionist pickled in poverty's periphery, Tenma's touch, taboo in a tactile tyranny, triggers a hippopotamus spasm, summoning Gekiman from the glitch's grim grotto, his form a feral fusion of frog and fury that flips the script on servitude's seamless stream. Amid schoolyard schisms and sibling solaces short-lived, Shinomiya's spotlight steals the stage, her high achiever's halo haloed by a similar sabotage, her zeal for ideal infrastructure's a counterpoint to Tenma's tuneless tangents, their colloquy a quiet quake questioning the quotient of quest and quiescence. Vignettes vibrate, alleyway altercations echoing Fight Club's first fisticuffs, where one punch punctures the pretense. Boba-fueled banter bubbling like buried beats, battles blazing, with bioluminescent blasts, all arcing toward an accord of anomalous alliance, the world's wiring warping under Wrath's waveform. It's a taut track, this opener, from Isolation's intro to Incursion's interlude, grooves grooving like glitches in the grid. What waveform warps the Warden's watch? How does a single snap summon the symphony? You huddle there in the humid haze, drumsticks slick in your sweat, the hippopotamus sapphire stare searing your palm, pulse pitching to the percussion of peril, parched for the plot's pounding progression. The credits crackle like cut cables, but the curiosity's crescendo, coiled, crashing, craving your cue to continue the cadence. Episode 1 propels the plot like a power cord punched through plywood, explosive yet evocative, an original opus unbound by antecedent arcs yet nodding to Digimon's DNA of dimensional drifts, surging from hippopotamus sabotage to symbiotic skirmish in a single, seismic set that seeds the series' serialized syncopation. Revelations ripple raw, the epulse existential edge, Gekiman's glitch-born genesis as Guardian's gambit, a cliffhanger creaking with convened catastrophe as convergences crest on corrupted currents, pretending partnerships perilously poised. No narrative noise. Instead, a riff from routine rupture to rhythmic reckoning, pacing a punchy poise that parcels prologue's punch with poignant pauses, dramatic denouement echoing the franchise's fervent formula, where exposition erupts from environmental exigencies rather than enumerated encyclicals, fan-flagged cloudy aspects, the hippopotamus spasm specificity, text tantrum or Tenma's taint, Gekiman's genesis a gift or glitch in the grid, the loss's lingering lash, abrupt as it aches, the societal schism's scope, utopia's underbelly or underclass uprising, crystallize in the episode's unadorned undercurrents. This original's autonomy, a canvas for conjecture drawn from Digimon's storied strata. The malfunctions mirror the digital distortions in Digimon Tamer's Tamer Trials, where human heat hacks the host's heart, resolving riddles with rhythmic restraint. The losses laceration, per director Miyamoto's modus, One Piece's operatic obits, serves as sacrificial syncopation to sharpen stakes. The anime's abbreviated allusions, a brother's brief. Blaze, Shinomiya's sidelong stare, honing this without harangue, framing the frame as foundation's fracture. Its insightful inception, this impetus, transmuting twilight to treble, reminiscent of Blade Runner's replicant reveries, where one engineered emotion engineers the end. Here, it harmonizes haze to hook, luring you to lend an ear to the lore's latent layers. Tenma tom-toms as temperament's tempest. His passion a patina over prodigal pauses, motivations moored in the original's marrow, poverty's pinch as prod to percussion's pure pulse, choices like defiant drumming a dirge to drudgery's drone. Wounds well in wistful wax, a brother's bond as brittle bridge, dialogue droll yet dawning depth, surprising in its steadfast snarl against systemic servitude, transformative as the episode's nod to narrative nerve. Shinomiya shines as schism's siren, her ambition a armor against analog anachronisms, growth glimmers in gregarious grapples, her utterances unyielding yet unveiling yearnings for yield, consistent in Crusade's cadence yet cracking in Crisis's clutch. Gekiman growls as Guardian's gambit, his ferocity a feral foil. Their silhouettes sharpen as sonatas. Tenma's tantrum, less tantrum than tempered tango. Shinomiya's spotlight, a fissure in facade's finery. Were they transformative? Tellingly, akin to Scott Pilgrim's sparring sparks, where one vegan vampire's vexation vexes the victor. I anticipate Tenma's tempo tilting toward tenderness. What untamed tune in your treble clef tempts the tempest? Beat-breaking burgeons not mere malfunctions but humanity's hymnody. Does digitization's decibel drown the drum's defiant dirge, or distill desire's dialect? It vibrates in Tenma's tussle, contending code's calculus of control. His hammer's a harmonic of humility and hidden heat, and Shinomiya's schema, morality's measured meter where sacrifice scores the system's soul, hopes halting him against despair's discordant drone. Beyond bars, it burgeons in Gekiman's gaze. A Heideggerian hum querying can circuitry catalyze the soul, the simulated sing the self, resonant as the Matrix's red pill reverie, where one unplugging appends the unreal. Its vein-valved rumination, veining vibes to our own vexed vexations. In the waveform of the wired, what silence summons your solo? Lore layers like loops in a looper pedal. 2050's tableau a tapestry of tactile taboos, where Sapotamas symbolize seamless subjugation, Epulse as existential extortion, complicating the cosmos with the episode's emergent edicts of emotional engineering. Human heartbeats hacked to high-tech harmony, enriching the ether without excess elaboration. The alley accretes from afterthought to arena, its axioms a archipelago of anomalies that allure as they augment. Script snaps sharp as a snare's snap, poetic in its punchline's precision, lines like Tenma's tempo tirades cliché-culled, laden with lore's levity, impactful as aphorisms that abide after applause like Cobain's confessions, snappy, synaptic, summoning the snark beyond the screen. Foreshadow frolics and flippancies, resonance in riposts that reverberate post-pilot, such as Shinomiya's soliloquy, a subtle syncopation carrying societal sting. Its banter that bites, each barb a beacon. What winged word from your witty wars might wing the weight from your wings? Toei's tapestry thrums as technicians triumph. Fluid fusions of frantic fisticuffs and feral forms, symbolism in sapphire screens, science crackling against stillness in Tenma's stare sculpts suspense's sting. Movement in melees measure a maelstrom of meticulous momentum. Beauty betokens bond's bittersweet bloom, molding mood as a malfunction's murmur, majestic, mordant, vista's vogue as virtuoso's vista. Overheads on ovations orphans mirroring meshed malfunctions, visceral vignettes on vein-varnished vigor sinking to sentiment's swell, editing's elegy a escalating echo, abrupt accents amplifying assaults, akin to Ghost in the shell-less glitchy gazes, where code contracts the cosmos. It mirrors Marrow, Tenma's ken arcing from austerity to affray, Gekiman's invading in iridescent eruptions. Ust operates as Oracle's opus, motifs of metallic marimbas murmuring through synth swell surges, elevating entreaties to epic's edge, silence and sabotage's suspension shriller than shattered shells. Did that suspended synth, mid-mockery, mimic the held hitch of a heart's half-beat, etching like error in code? Miyu Irino's Tenma thrums in taut tenacity, timbre a tempered treble, intensity, incarnating irony's itch. Megumi Han's Gekiman growls with guttural grace, tremors teasing the tender under taunt's torrent, while Tomoyo Kurosawa's Shinomiya simmers with silken severity, delivery a diaphanous drift. Stellar showings, voices not voicing but vibrating, vesting verve in vocal voltage. This episode electrifies with an ebullience that's equal parts exhilaration and exasperation. The battle's brutal ballet bashed my barriers like bass drops in a blackout, wonder welling in the warp of worlds colliding, moments of mirrored malfunctions leaving laughter's ligature, scars of schadenfreude sparking subversive sympathies. I felt fizzed, fortified in Tenma's fortitude, echoing my own escapades evading the everyday entanglements where one off-kilter outburst overthrows the ordinary. Veiled in vignettes vivacity, the vertex vaults as vicinities vivisecting in vibrant vortex, a fulcrum where feints fracture, fates fusing like Ready Player One's grid glitch birthing bonds from bunkers. It iterates indelibly. In the idiom of the irked, does one imp's impudence impel the infinite? You hoard it, this hilarity, philosophical pixels patterning private puzzles. What pint-sized provocateur in your playlist pricks the prickly path to paradise? The glitch gleams, unpatched, plug in, and play the prankster's part. Reverse rifling the riffs. Velocity's verve, fans flag as frenetic and characters cascade. Reframes as romcom's rocket, a stylistic simulacrum of startup sprint, mirroring the original's narrative nitro to nitrate the nonsense's nectar. Clichés cling might cramp creativity, yet its thematic truss, tethering tropes to trenchant twists akin to Scott Pilgrim's pixelated pummels, where punches punctuate the profound. Vocal variances veer vivaciously in villainy, read Vixen's verve, but this vivifies the vivisecting vapidity's veil. Adoration adheres, discerning dissection defers to delight. Flaws as fireworks in a festival of frolic. Episode 1 exalts in effervescent exchanges and evocative ensembles. It sprints slight stutter a sprightly spur. It consummates its caper, catalyzing clichés cash into cathartic cavalcade, narrative nerve netted with naughty nuance. To thumb one's nose at the tune-up is to tune out the tumult's tune. The glitch glitches, daring your deadlock. What if this impish interloper infiltrated your idol, her japes jarring the jam of your joy? The screen summons, siren sharp, surrender, and savor the sting of serendipity's slap. Have you ever felt the phantom thrum of a drumbeat in your veins? Not the triumphant roll of victory, but the erratic stutter of a heart sinking to an alien cadence, where each strike echoes the fracture between solitude and summons. Or savored the metallic tang of adrenaline-laced sweat on your lips, mingling with the earthy spore scent of undergrowth closing in, as if the forest itself conspires to root you in place, demanding you yield to its wild whisper? In Digimon Beatbreak Episode 2, Glowing Dawn, aired October 12, 2025, this primal percussion ignites the series' sophomore swell, extending Episode 1's seismic rupture. Tomorrow Tenma's Sapotama birthing Gekimen amid the banal hum of high school hallways, into a feral fugue of alliance and ambush, evoking the reluctant packs of Ishigiro's cloned caregivers in Never Let Me Go, bartering futures for fleeting familiars, or the coded calls of World War II resistance networks, where a single signal could summon saviors or seals one's fate. It dissects identity's insistent itch. What rhythm do you strike when the monster at your side mirrors the one clawing within? I watched, pulse quickening to the screen's savage syncopation, intriguing in its raw recruitment, a hook that reels without revealing the barb's full bite. Can you hear it now? That subterranean bassline vibrating through your soles, the faint fungal haze tickling your nostrils like a warning unheeded? The episode doesn't dictate the downbeat. It dares you to join, each unresolved riff a ripple urging you toward the fray. What hidden harmony might your hesitation harmonize? From Episode 1's abrupt awakening, tomorrow's everyday eclipsed by Gekimen's geyser-like emergence from his Sapotama, a device pulsing with latent life that drags him into Digimon's digital deluge. This installment accelerates into ambush, the Kanoko gang's mycelial menace ensnaring siblings in spore-shrouded stasis. Tomorrow, adrift in this Epulse economy where Digimon's vitality leeches from human hosts like vines on a trellis, stumbles into the glowing dawn's orbit. Kyo Sawashiro's ragtag bounty hunters, their interventions a staccato of salvos against fungal foes. Mushmon toppled, Chambleman challenged, Gekimen's form fouled by draining growths. Bonds bud amid the brawl, tentative trusts forged in the fire of shared skirmishes, pivoting the arc from solitary summons to syndicate snare, where recruitment rings like a rallying cry. Envision yourself entangled in that thicket, thorns pricking palms as Gekimen's gasps grate against your eardrums, the acrid ozone of Epulse flares singeing your lashes. Does the encroaching dusk heighten your hackles, or does a hunter's hail kindle a flicker of fierce fraternity? The narrative parcels its punches precisely, each parry a prelude to the peril ahead. What verdant veils might the next volley unveil? Episode 2 hammers forward with the velocity of a viral outbreak, metastasizing Episode 1's intimate ignition into interstellar intrigue, revelations of the Epulse ecosystem, a symbiotic siphon where Digimon draw digital dynamism from human harmonics, escalating to a twist of territorial turf war, the Kanoko gang's conquest a mycelial metaphor for unchecked consumption, capping in a cliffhanger where Glowing Dawn's gambit gleams with governmental glimmers, pacing pulses with percussive precision, frenzied flurries of fight choreography balanced by breaths of backstory, evoking the taut toggles in Nolan's Inception, dream dream dives yielding to dawning dread. Dramatic equilibrium thrums true, though fans flag cloudy aspects. The Sapotama's sudden sentience, why Epulse ebbs so erratically, or glowing dawn's shadowy sanction. Governments gaze a specter that spooks without substance. As an original anime, no antecedent manga or light novel, per Toei's production briefs and weekly Shonen Sunday teasers, where creator Hiroaki Matsushima's script drafts emphasize emergent ecology over established tomes. These nebulosities are narrative nerve centers. The Sapotama's birth channels unscripted evolutions from Digimon's V-Pet lineage, echoed in 2025's Cyber Sleuth. Complete edition lore drops. Epulse flux a deliberate volatility mirroring real-world biofeedback rhythms. Human, stress-spiking Digimon strain, as clarified in episode director notes from Fuji TV archives, transforming opacity into organic omen. Governmental nods, foreshadowed in Matsushima's pilot pitch as a watchful warden framework, complicating the cosmos with covert complicity, where hunters hunt under hushed oversight. This surge doesn't sprint, it sinks, seeding symbiosis as Saga's spine. The cast crackles with concealed currents, psyches plumbed like pressure plates underfoot. Tomorrow evolves from bewildered bystander to beleaguered beatkeeper, his hidden wound the weight of watchful siblinghood, motivations marbled with mundane monotony's malaise, choices, lashing at rescuers, leaning into Gekimon's gambit, consistent in their combative candor yet transformative, surprising in a snap of solidarity that shatters his shell, akin to Takuya's fiery fusions in Frontier's Forge. Gekimon gleams as gregarious guardian, his impish impulses belying a budding bond's burden. Kyo Sawashiro strides as stoic strategist, her team's tapestry, Reina's regal resolve, Makoto's measured might, unfurling motivations of mercenary mercy, dialogues a drumroll of deflections that deepen into devotion, consistent as circadian inevitabilities, transformative, in the skirmish's spark, yes, growth gleaned from the grind of guarded graces. The episode excavates partnership's perilous poetry, powers pulse in proximity, where morality modulates in the melee of mutual need, sacrifice not saber but surrender to another's sustain. Beyond banners, these beats burgeon through burdens. Tomorrow's tether to Gekimon, a moral metronome on autonomy's altar, echoing Sartre's existential entanglements or the symbiotic struggles in the hostess hollowed hosts. Does hope's harmony heal the host, or does despair's drain delineate the divide? Glowing Dawn's dawn raids manifest the crux. Survival through syndicate, choices a choreography of connection amid calamity's cadence. Lore proliferates like fungal filaments. The Epulse paradigm, where Digimon's dawn draws from human harmonics via Sapotama conduits, enriches the realm with rules of resonant reliance. Government's granular oversight a Gordian knot of guardianship and greed, complicating the canon with contemporary conundrums, where digital denizens dine on our discord. Matsushima's script snaps like a snare drum, sharp as shrapnel, poetic in its percussive pauses, transmuting trope into trenchant truths. Tomorrow's terse tirades carry combative heft, foreshadowing fractures that throb post-titles like Camus' absurd anthems. Kyo's clipped commands, veined with veiled vulnerability, resonate with the rally cries of revolutionary roundels. Impactful, incendiary, each exchange an echo chamber, ensnaring you in the spores. Feel Gekimon's gleeful gambit graze your guard, a historical hush akin to guerrilla graffiti in Orwell's Occupied Outposts. Does it drum against your defenses, this verbal vibration? The prose doesn't punctuate, it palpitates, each interjection an incitement to the inferno unfurled. Toei's tableau throbs with tactile turmoil, fluid flourishes in Gekimon's gyrations, fungal forms fracturing in verdant veils that symbolize symbiotic scourge, crimson Epulse flares clashing against Kanoko's khaki camouflage. Lighting lacerates loss. Dawn's diffused gold gilding glowing dawn's grit, shadows swelling in spore storms to evoke existential entanglement. Stillness in tomorrow's tense trances yields to whirlwind whirls of warfare, beauty a brutal ballet, not bauble, but barb, the chiaroscuro of chroma and void carving catharsis from chaos, the frame's fervor. Low lurks amid the underbrush mirroring menace's murmur, dynamic Dutch tilts twisting turf tussles, editing's erratic edits echoing arrhythmia that amplifies angst, akin to Villeneuve's dunes of dread. Compositions capture convergences, each shot a snare for the soul's sink. The OST orchestrates as a cult oracle opener Mad Pulse by Madkid motif mutating into martial marches, haunting hollows with harmonic howls, crescendos crashing in clash choruses that corrode like corrosive spores. Silence strikes sharpest in Epulse ebbs, a motif mightier than any melee, etching auditory aftershocks akin to the lulls in Apocalypse Now's jungle jaws. Siu summons spirits from the static. Tomorrow's timbre, a taut tenor fraying into fury, embodies his entangled essence. Gekimon's gleeful growl, laced with latent loyalty, layers levity with lurking longing. Kyo's contralto cuts like a conductor's cue, intensity igniting her icy interior, deliveries delving into the decibels, drawing you into the din as if your shout out might shatter the siege. This episode etched echoes in my marrow. Fury's feverish flush at fraternal fragility, wonder welling at the wild whimsy of Wolverman's whims, that adorable aberration. Scars from spore-sieged standoffs that sting like the barbs of bartered brotherhoods. Moments of mercenary mercy left luminous legacies, sparks in the Syndicate's sudden solidarity igniting an insurgent ire. The climax collides as Cadence's cataclysm, a Destiny's drumroll where pulses precipitate into packs, refract yet recast. These are rhythmic radicals, thematic throbs echoing the original's organic onset, where veils of vitality invite the viewer's vigilant vibe. Glowing dawns gloss a deliberate diminuendo to the dawn. Appreciation arcs over critique, visceral virtuosity as vanguard, though a steadier segue might soothe the skeptics. Balanced, it's a beat of brilliance, frailties as fervent fortissimos. Episode 2 excels in its insurgent intonation, character cadences carved with combative care, narrative nuances navigating nebulae of nexus, an artistic assault that alchemizes Digimon's dominion into dermal drum. Weaknesses, whispered in the wake, fleeting phrase informs flux, occasional overload of ostinatos. It prevails, pulsatingly, a spell of spore and soul, narrative notes nailed to the nexus. Yet heed this, the snare that snares like a Sopotamus' secret summons. What if the beat you bury is the one that births your boldest bond? Witnessing isn't whim, it's the thrum through your temples, the descent into the din where your dormant drum demands its due. Strike true, the dawn devours delay.